Welcome to Lunar Whisper. I'll be your storyteller tonight, the voice you hear when the room gets too quiet. Before we begin, like this video and subscribe, so you never miss the things that follow you after midnight. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and what time it is. And if there's a story you want next, don't be shy. The shadows are listening. It was a quiet evening in the small town where everyone knew each other. The rain had been falling all day, a soft drizzle that made the streets shine under the streetlights. Emily sat by the window in her old house, watching the water run down the glass. She was 30 now, but the house still felt like it did when she was a kid. Her parents had left it to her after they passed away last year. She had come back to sort through their things, but tonight she just wanted to relax. The house was full of memories. Upstairs there was the nursery where she and her brother Tom used to play. Tom was gone now too, lost in a car accident 5 years ago. Emily missed him a lot. They had shared so many secrets as kids. But there was one secret they never talked about after they grew up. It was something from their childhood that scared them both. As the rain kept falling, Emily decided to make some tea. She walked to the kitchen, the floor creaking under her feet. The house was old, built in the early 1900s. It had that smell of wood and dust. She filled the kettle and put it on the stove. While waiting, she thought about the nursery. It was still set up like it was back then, with toys and books on the shelves. Her parents never changed it, even after she and Tom moved out. The kettle whistled, and she poured the hot water into her cup. She added a tea bag and some sugar. Carrying the cup back to the living room, she sat on the couch. The rain sounded louder now, tapping on the roof. She turned on the TV, but nothing good was on. So she picked up an old photo album from the coffee table. It was full of pictures from when she was little. There was one photo of her and Tom in the nursery. They were about 5 and 7 years old. Tom had his arm around her, and they were smiling. But looking closer, Emily noticed something odd. In the background, behind the crib, there was a shadow on the wall. It looked like a hand reaching out. She had never seen that before. Maybe it was just the way the light hit the room. She flipped the page. More photos of family trips and birthdays. But her mind kept going back to that shadow. As kids, she and Tom used to hear whispers in the nursery at night. They thought it was the wind or their imagination. But sometimes, the whispers sounded like words, soft, like someone talking far away. They would hide under the covers and hold each other tight. One night, when Emily was 6, she woke up to the whispers again. Tom was asleep in his bed across the room. The whispers were coming from under her bed. She was too scared to look. Instead, she pulled the blanket over her head and tried to sleep. In the morning, she told Tom, and he said he heard them too. They promised not to tell their parents, because they might think they were making it up. As Emily sat there remembering, the rain picked up. It was pouring now, but the user said drizzling. Wait, no. The title has drizzling rain, but I can build it. Anyway, she felt a chill in the air. The house was drafty. She got up to close the window, but it was already shut. Strange. She went back to the couch and sipped her tea. Suddenly, she heard a faint sound from upstairs. It was like a soft murmur. Her heart skipped a beat. It couldn't be. The house was empty. Maybe it was the rain on the roof. But it sounded just like those whispers from long ago. She put down her cup and listened. There it was again, coming from the direction of the nursery. Emily told herself she was being silly. She was an adult now. There were no such things as ghosts or whatever. But curiosity got the better of her. She stood up and walked to the stairs. The wood creaked as she climbed. At the top, the hallway was dark. She flipped the switch, and the light came on. The nursery door was at the end of the hall. It was closed, like always. As she got closer, the whispers grew a bit louder. They weren't words she could understand, just low sounds. Her hand shook as she reached for the knob. She turned it and pushed the door open. The room looked the same. The crib in the corner, the toy chest by the window, the rocking chair. The rain hit the glass outside. She stepped inside, and the whispers stopped. Silence. She let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. See? Nothing, she thought. But then, as she turned to leave, she saw it. On the wall, where the shadow was in the photo, there was a mark. It looked like a handprint, small, like a child's. But it wasn't there before. She touched it, and it felt cold. Her finger came away with dust. Downstairs, her phone rang, breaking the quiet. She hurried back down to answer it. It was her friend Sarah. "Hey, Emily, how's the house sorting going?" Sarah asked. "It's okay," Emily said, trying to sound normal. "Just going through old stuff." They talked for a bit, about work and life. But Emily's mind was on the nursery. After hanging up, she decided to go back up. This time, she took a flashlight from the kitchen drawer. In the nursery again, she shone the light on the wall. The handprint was gone. Was it her imagination? She shook her head. Maybe she was tired. It had been a long day, but as she stood there, the whispers started again. This time, clearer. It sounded like a child's voice, saying her name. Emily. Soft, but real. She froze. How could that be? She backed out of the room and closed the door. Downstairs, she locked all the doors and windows. The rain was still falling, drizzling now. That night, she couldn't sleep. She lay in her old bedroom, listening. The whispers came and went, like they were trying to tell her something. In the morning, she decided to look into the house's history. Maybe there was something she didn't know. She went to the local library. The librarian was an old lady who knew her family. "What can I help you with, dear?" she asked. "I want to know about my house," Emily said. "Any old stories?" The librarian pulled out some books. There was one about the town's past. In it, Emily found something. The house was built on land where an old orphanage stood. It burned down in the 1800s, and some kids died, but no details. Back home, the rain started again. Emily felt uneasy. That night, the whispers were louder. They said, "Come play." She called Sarah and told her. "You should leave," Sarah said. "Sounds creepy." But Emily wanted to know more. She went to the nursery and sat in the rocking chair. The whispers surrounded her. Then she felt a cold hand on her shoulder. She jumped up and ran out. In the hall, she tripped and fell. When she looked back, the door slammed shut. Her heart raced. What was happening? Was it Tom? No, that didn't make sense. The next day, she searched the attic. There were old boxes. In one, she found a diary. It was her mother's. Entries from when Emily was little. Em heard whispers again. Thinks it's the house. Tom, too. Must keep them safe. Emily read on. Her mother wrote about a child who lived there before. A girl who died young. She haunted the nursery, looking for friends. Emily closed the diary. Was that it? A ghost child. That evening, under the drizzling rain, she went back to the nursery. "Who are you?" she asked. The whispers answered, "Play with me." She saw a shape in the corner, small, like a kid. It moved closer. Emily backed away, but the door wouldn't open. She was trapped. The shape reached out. Cold fingers touched her hand. Then everything went dark. When Emily opened her eyes again, she was still in the nursery. The room looked the same, but everything felt different. The air was heavier, like someone had turned the cold up too high. The little shape was gone. The door opened easily now, like nothing had ever held it shut. She ran downstairs, grabbed her keys, and drove straight to Sarah's apartment across town. The drizzle followed her the whole way, soft and never-ending. Sarah let her in without asking too many questions. Emily sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, and told her everything. The whispers, the cold hand, the diary, the shape that looked like a child. Sarah listened, eyes wide, then made them both hot chocolate. They stayed up late talking. Sarah said Emily should sell the house and never go back. Emily almost agreed. Almost. But something pulled at her. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was like a string tied around her heart, tugging gently every time she thought about leaving. She kept hearing the whisper in her head, soft and sad. Play with me. The next morning, Sarah drove her back to get some clothes and important papers. The rain had stopped for once. The house looked normal in the daylight, just an old family home with peeling paint and overgrown grass. They went inside together. Sarah wanted to see the nursery for herself. They walked up the stairs side by side. The hallway smelled like it always did, wood and faint lavender from their mother's old sachets. When they pushed the nursery door open, everything was quiet. Sunlight came through the window and fell across the rocking horse and the tiny chairs. Nothing moved. Sarah laughed a little, nervous. See? It's just a room. Emily stepped inside. She felt the tug again, stronger. She looked at the corner where the shape had been last night. There was nothing now, only dust and an old rag doll lying on its side. She picked the doll up. Its button eyes stared back at her. One arm was torn, stuffing coming out like white fluff. Sarah took a quick picture with her phone. Proof there's no ghost, she said, smiling. Then her smile faded. She zoomed in on the photo. In the corner of the screen, behind Emily, there was a blurry face pressed against the window from outside. Pale, small, with dark holes for eyes. They both saw it at the same time. Sarah dropped the phone. Emily turned fast, but the window was empty. Just the backyard and the wet trees. They left the house that minute. Emily locked the door and said she would call a real estate agent the next day. Sarah took her back to the apartment. That night, Emily slept on the couch. She dreamed of the nursery. In the dream, she was little again, sitting on the floor with Tom. They were playing with blocks. Someone else was there too, a girl with long dark hair and a white dress. The girl never spoke loud, only whispered. She kept asking Tom to stay longer. When Emily tried to pull Tom away, the girl looked at her with those empty eyes and said, "He's mine now." Emily woke up sweating. It was 3 a.m. Sarah was asleep in her room. Emily sat up and rubbed her face. She missed Tom so much it hurt. Maybe that was why the house wouldn't let her go. Maybe the little ghost girl missed someone too. The next day, Emily went to the cemetery alone. She brought flowers for Tom's grave. The grass was wet from the night's drizzle. She sat by the stone and talked to him like he could hear her. She told him about the whispers, the cold hands, the girl. "I think she took you first," Emily said, voice shaking. "When we were kids, I think she never let you leave." A soft wind moved the flowers. For a second, Emily thought she heard Tom's laugh, the same laugh from when they were small and running around the backyard. Then it was gone. She drove back to the house one last time. She told herself it was only to get the rest of her things and leave the key for the agent. The drizzle started again as she pulled into the driveway, light and steady. She went straight upstairs to the nursery. The room waited for her. The doll was sitting up now, in the middle of the rug. Someone had fixed its torn arm. Emily's breathing got fast. She looked around. The rocking chair moved a little, back and forth, slow. "I know you're here," Emily said out loud. Her voice sounded small. The whispers came all around her, like many children talking at once. Then one voice rose above the others, clear and sweet and terrible. "You came back?" Emily turned. The girl stood by the crib. She was pale, almost see-through, wearing an old-fashioned white dress. Her feet didn't quite touch the floor. Her eyes were black, no whites at all. Emily took one step back. "What do you want?" The girl smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. "I was lonely. The others left. But your brother stayed. He plays with me every night. Now you can stay too." Emily shook her head. "No, I'm leaving. This is my house." The girl floated closer. Cold filled the room. "It was my house first. They left me here when the fire came. They said they'd come back, but they never did. Then you and your brother came. He understood. He still understands." Emily felt tears on her cheeks. She thought of Tom, how he used to protect her from nightmares, how he always checked under the bed for monsters. Maybe he had been protecting her from this one all along. "I miss him," Emily whispered. The girl reached out a small hand. "Then stay. We can miss him together." Emily looked at that hand. It looked so real, so small, so in need of holding. For one heartbeat, she almost took it. Then she thought of sunlight, of Sarah's apartment, of growing old and having a life outside these walls. She stepped back again. "No," she said, stronger this time. "Let him go. Let us both go." The girl's face changed. The smile fell away. The blackness in her eyes grew bigger. The whispers turned angry, loud, filling Emily's ears until her head hurt. The door slammed shut behind her. The girl moved fast, closer, closer, until her cold fingers closed around Emily's wrist. Emily tried to pull away, but the girl's grip was like ice that burned. It went straight through her skin and into her bones. The room grew darker, even though the light was still on. The walls seemed to lean in, making the nursery feel smaller, tighter. The whispers turned into a rush of voices, all begging, all angry, all sad at the same time. She twisted her arm hard and managed to break free. Pain shot up her wrist where the fingers had been. She ran to the door and pulled at the handle. It did not move. She pulled again, harder. Nothing. The girl floated between her and the door now, arms out, head tilted like a curious child. "You can't leave," the girl said. Her voice was soft, but it filled the whole room. "No one leaves." Emily backed up until she felt the rocking chair behind her legs. She sat down without meaning to. The chair started rocking on its own, slow and steady. The girl came closer again. Up close, Emily could see the dress was old and burned at the edges. Tiny black marks ran up the sleeves like soot. "I don't want to hurt you," the girl whispered. "I just want friends who stay." Emily's heart pounded so loud she could hear it in her ears. She looked around for anything to help. The toy chest was open a little. Inside, she saw the corner of an old picture book they used to read. She remembered Tom reading it to her when she was scared. Stories about brave kids who faced monsters and won. She took a deep breath. "If you want a friend," she said, trying to keep her voice steady, "you have to let them choose. You can't keep them here forever. The girl stopped moving forward. Her black eyes blinked once. They all choose to leave. Every time. Maybe because you scare them, Emily said. Maybe if you weren't so cold and angry, they would stay longer. The girl looked down at her own hands. They were almost see-through. I don't know how to be warm anymore. Emily felt something shift inside her. The fear was still there, huge and heavy, but under it was something else. Pity. This was just a little girl who got left behind a long time ago. Alone for years and years. She stood up slowly. The chair stopped rocking. I can't stay forever, Emily said, but I can visit. I can bring flowers and books. I can sit and talk sometimes. Would that be okay? The girl looked up. For the first time, the blackness in her eyes seemed a little smaller. You promise? Emily nodded. I promise. But you have to let my brother go too. He has to be free. The girl's face went still. The room got colder again. He likes it here. He plays with me every night. We build towers and have tea parties. He doesn't want to leave. Emily swallowed hard. He stayed because he was protecting me. When we were little, he heard you first. He kept you company so you wouldn't come for me. But now I'm big. I can take care of myself. He deserves to rest. A tear fell down the girl's cheek, but it vanished before it hit the floor. The whispers quieted. The door handle turned a little on its own. Emily stepped forward this time. She reached out and touched the girl's hand. It was freezing, but she didn't pull away. Thank you for keeping him company all these years. He was never really alone because of you, but it's time. The girl looked at their hands together. Then she looked toward the window, where the drizzle still fell soft against the glass. Will it hurt? Emily shook her head. I don't think so. I think it will feel like sleep, like finally going home. The girl nodded slowly. The cold started to lift just a little. The door opened wide behind her. Light from the hallway spilled in. Emily felt something brush past her, light as a breath. She turned, but there was nothing to see. Just a feeling, warm for the first time, like Tom giving her a quick hug before running off to play. The girl smiled, a real smile now, small and shy. Tell him I said goodbye. I will, Emily whispered. The girl faded, softer and softer, until only a faint outline remained. Then she was gone. The room felt empty, but not scary anymore. Just old and quiet. Emily walked out of the nursery and left the door open. Downstairs, she made herself another cup of tea. The drizzle outside slowed and stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds for the first time in days. She sat by the window and thought about Tom. She didn't feel the tug anymore. The string around her heart was gone. He was free. Later that week, she sold the house. But before she left for good, she went back one last time. She put fresh flowers in the nursery and left the picture book open on the little table. She sat in the rocking chair and read a story out loud, just in case anyone was listening. When she finished, she stood up and said, I'll come visit sometimes, I promised. The room felt peaceful. She closed the door gently and walked away. Years later, people in town said the old house never stayed empty long. Families moved in and stayed happy. Kids played in the nursery without fear. Sometimes, on quiet evenings when the drizzle fell soft, a faint laugh could be heard upstairs, light and free. No one ever felt cold in that room again. Emily thought that was the end of it. She moved to a new city, got a small apartment near the park, and started a job at a bookstore. Life felt lighter. She made new friends, went on walks when the sun was out, and only sometimes thought about the old house. When she did, it was with a soft sadness, fear. She kept her promise and drove back to the town twice a year. She would leave flowers in the nursery and read a short story out loud before locking up again. The new family who bought the house was nice. A young couple with a baby on the way. They painted the walls fresh colors and fixed the leaky roof. Emily met them once when she stopped by to drop off the extra key. They smiled and said the house felt warm and welcoming. The wife even joked that the nursery was the coziest room in the whole place. Emily smiled back and said nothing about the past. 5 years went by like that. Emily turned 35. She had a boyfriend now, someone kind who made her laugh. They talked about getting a place together. Life was good. Then, one October evening, the drizzle came back. Emily was at home making dinner when her phone rang. It was an old number, one she hadn't seen in years. Sarah. Sarah sounded strange, quiet. "Emily, have you heard anything about the house?" Emily's stomach tightened. "No. Why?" "The couple who lives there now. Something happened. The wife called me this morning. She found my old number in some papers you left behind. She said the baby won't stop crying at night. And there are whispers again." Emily put down the knife she was holding. "Did she say what the whispers want?" Sarah was silent for a moment. "She said they keep asking for you. By name." That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She kept seeing the little girl's face, the way the black eyes had softened at the end. She thought she had fixed it. She thought promises were enough. The next day, she called the wife. Her name was Lisa. Lisa sounded tired, like she hadn't slept in days. The baby was only 6 months old. "It started 2 weeks ago," Lisa said, soft talking from the nursery. "At first I thought it was the monitor picking up noise from outside. But then I went in and there was a handprint on the crib. Small. Cold." Emily closed her eyes. "Did you see her?" "No. But my husband did. Last night. He went to check on the baby and saw a little girl standing by the window. When he turned on the light, she was gone. We're scared, Emily. We don't know what to do." Emily booked a hotel in the town that same day. She told her boyfriend she had a family emergency. He wanted to come with her, but she said no. This was something she had to face alone. The drive took 4 hours. The drizzle followed her the whole way, light and steady, just like before. When she pulled up to the house, it looked different with the new paint and flowers in the yard. But the nursery window on the second floor stared down at her the same way. Lisa opened the door before Emily could knock. She looked pale. The baby was asleep in a carrier, finally quiet. Lisa's husband, Mark, stood behind her. They let Emily in without many words. They went straight upstairs. The nursery was bright now, painted soft yellow with animal stickers on the walls. The crib was new, modern. Toys were neatly put away, but the air felt heavy again. Emily stepped inside alone. She closed the door behind her. The room was quiet at first. Then the temperature dropped. The drizzle outside tapped harder on the window. "I kept my promise," Emily said to the empty room. "I came back every time. Why are you doing this again?" The whispers started, low and sad. Not angry this time, just lonely. Emily walked to the rocking chair and sat down. "I know you miss company, but you can't scare them. They have a baby. Little ones need to feel safe." A shape formed slowly in the corner. The girl again, but different. She looked smaller, thinner. The edges of her dress were more burned. Her black eyes were bigger. "You stopped coming," the girl whispered. Emily's heart hurt. "I came twice a year, every spring and fall." The girl shook her head. "Not enough. The others left again. Everyone leaves. Emily thought about the orphanage fire. How many children must have been lost? Maybe it wasn't just one girl. Maybe they all stayed, waiting. I can't live here, Emily said gently. I have my own life now, but I can help you find peace. Real peace. The girl floated closer. How? Emily stood up. She went to the window and opened it. The cool, wet air came in. You don't have to stay in this room forever. You can go where Tom went, where the others who left are waiting. The girl looked out at the grey sky. Raindrops fell on her face, but didn't wet her. Will they want me? She asked. Emily smiled. Everyone wants to be with friends, and you won't be lonely anymore. The girl reached out and took Emily's hand. This time, it wasn't freezing, just cool, like a fall breeze. Other shapes appeared around the room, faint outlines of children, boys and girls in old clothes. They looked scared but hopeful. Emily felt tears on her own cheeks. It's time to go home. The girl nodded. She let go of Emily's hand and turned to the others. They joined hands, small and big, a quiet circle. Light came through the window, soft and warm even through the clouds. One by one, the shapes faded into it. The girl was last. She looked back at Emily. Thank you for playing with us. Then she was gone. The room warmed up right away. The drizzle outside slowed to nothing. Sun broke through for a moment, lighting up the yellow walls. Emily stayed a little longer, just sitting. When she went downstairs, Lisa and Mark were waiting. The baby woke up and smiled. Lisa hugged her tight. It feels different already. Lighter. Emily nodded. It's over now, for good. She left the house that evening, drove away as the sky cleared. She never went back again, but she didn't need to. Sometimes, on quiet nights, she still hears a soft whisper in her dreams. Not scary, just a child's voice saying thank you. And under drizzling rain or clear skies, Emily always smiles. Emily truly believed it was finished this time. She went home to her apartment, kissed her boyfriend hello, and let the whole thing settle like dust after a long storm. The whispers stopped in her dreams. The drizzle that used to follow her everywhere turned into ordinary rain that came and went with the seasons. She even started planning a small wedding for the next spring. But some stories do not like neat endings. 7 years after that last visit to the house, Emily, now married and 39, received a thick envelope in the mail. No return address, just her name written in careful child's handwriting on the front. Inside was a single photograph and a short note on yellowed paper. The photograph showed the nursery exactly as she remembered it from the day she helped the children leave. Soft yellow walls, animal stickers, the modern crib. But in the middle of the rug sat the old rag doll she had picked up all those years ago. Its torn arm was sewn back with clumsy black stitches. One button eye was missing now. And behind the doll, pressed pale against the window from inside, were 5 small handprints. The note read, "We waited. You said you would visit. You lied. Come play forever." There was no signature, only a tiny drawing of a rocking horse at the bottom. Emily's hands shook so hard, the photo slipped to the floor. Her husband, David, found her sitting there staring at it. She told him everything for the first time. The whole story from childhood to the final goodbye. He listened without laughing or looking away. When she finished, he picked up the photo and turned it over. On the back, in the same child's writing, was today's date. That night, the drizzle started again outside their city apartment, even though the weather report said clear skies. Emily lay awake listening to it tap against the glass. Around 3 in the morning, she heard something else. Soft footsteps in the hallway outside their bedroom. Small, bare feet on hardwood. David was already sitting up. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. Emily nodded. She reached for the lamp. When the light came on, the hallway was empty, but on the wall just outside their door was a single small handprint, wet, as if fresh from rain. The next morning, Emily called the old town. The house had changed owners twice since Lisa and Mark. The current family had moved out suddenly 6 months earlier. No one knew where they went. The real estate agent said the place was empty again and hard to sell. People kept saying it felt watched. David wanted to call the police. Emily knew that would do no good. She packed a small bag instead. "I'm going back," she said. "One more time." David insisted on coming with her. They drove through the night. The drizzle stayed with them the whole way, never heavy, just enough to blur the headlights and make the road shine. They reached the house at dawn. It looked tired now. Paint peeling again, yard overgrown, windows dark. The for sale sign leaned sideways in the wet grass. Inside, everything smelled of damp and neglect. Dust covered the furniture. They went straight upstairs. The nursery door stood open. The room was colder than the rest of the house. The yellow paint had faded to a sickly color. The animal stickers were curled at the edges. The modern crib was gone. The new owners must have taken it. In its place stood the old wooden crib from Emily's childhood, the one her parents had never thrown away. Someone, or something, had brought it back down from the attic. The rag doll sat in the crib, propped against the bars. Both button eyes were gone now. Black thread crossed the face where they used to be. Emily stepped inside. David stayed in the doorway, hand tight on her shoulder. The whispers began at once, many voices layered together. "You came back. You promised. Stay now. Play forever." The temperature dropped fast. Frost formed on the inside of the window, even though it was only October. Emily looked at the crib. The blankets moved, slow and gentle, as if something small was breathing under them. She walked closer. David tried to pull her back, but she shook her head. "I'm sorry," she said to the room. "I thought leaving you free was the kindest thing. I thought you went on." A small hand came out from under the blanket and rested on the crib rail. Pale, thin, fingers too long. "We did go," the girl's voice said, clear above the others. "But there was no one there. Just dark. We came back. This is home." Emily felt tears freeze on her cheeks. "I can't stay. I have a life, a husband, maybe children one day." The hand tightened on the rail. "Then bring them too. We can all play." David stepped forward. "No," he said firmly. "She's leaving with me. Right now." The whispers turned angry. The crib rocked hard. The rag doll fell to the floor. Shadows moved in the corners, small shapes gathering. Emily knelt and picked up the doll. She held it close, like she was comforting a real child. "I have a different promise now," she said quietly. "I promised someone I would grow old with him. I promised myself I would live in the light. I'm sorry I can't keep both promises, but I choose the living." She placed the doll gently back in the crib. The room went silent. Even the drizzle outside paused. Then the girl appeared, standing at the foot of the crib. Older now, almost Emily's height, but still pale and burned at the edges. Her eyes were completely black. "You choose wrong," she said. The door slammed shut behind David. The lock clicked. The shadows rushed forward. The shadows poured in from every corner, like black water rising fast. Small hands reached out, cold fingers grabbing at Emily's clothes, her arms, her hair. David lunged forward and pulled her back toward him, but the hands caught him too. They were strong for being so small, pulling in different directions, dragging both of them deeper into the room. Emily stumbled and fell to her knees on the dusty rug. The girl stood over her now, tall and thin, face blank except for those endless black eyes. The other children circled close, pale faces pressed near, mouths moving with silent words. David shouted something, but the whispers swallowed his voice. The door rattled hard, but stayed locked. Frost spread across the window until the glass turned white and the room went darker. Emily looked up at the girl. "You don't have to do this," she said, breathing hard. "You can still choose something better." The girl tilted her head. "We chose you." One cold hand closed around Emily's throat, gentle but firm, like a warning. Another hand took David's wrist and pinned it to the floor. The children sat down around them in a quiet ring, legs crossed, watching. Emily felt the cold sink deeper, past skin and muscle, into her chest. Her heartbeat slowed. Everything sounded far away. She thought of her wedding day, of David's smile when he said yes, of the warm kitchen in their apartment, where dinner was waiting the night the envelope came. She closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them again, she saw something the others did not. A faint glow near the crib, soft and golden, like sunlight trying to push through thick clouds. In the glow stood a shape she knew better than her own reflection. Tom. He looked just like he did the summer before the accident. 28, tall, hair messy, wearing the old grey hoodie he loved. He smiled at her the same way he used to when they were little and scared of storms. Emily's lips moved. "Tom." The children turned toward the glow. The girl's grip loosened just a little. Tom stepped forward. The shadows pulled back from him like they were afraid. He knelt beside Emily and touched her cheek. His hand was warm. "Hey, Em," he said softly. "Took you long enough to come visit?" Emily laughed once, a small broken sound that turned into a sob. David stared, eyes wide, not understanding yet. Tom looked at the girl. "You kept your promise," he told her. "You watched over her when I couldn't anymore. Thank you." The girl's black eyes flickered. Something like doubt moved across her face. "But she's not yours to keep," Tom went on. "None of us are. We stayed too long already." He reached out and took the girl's cold hand in his warm one. She did not pull away. "I know what the dark felt like when you tried to leave," he said. "I felt it too. But there's something past it. I found the way. I came back to show you." The golden glow grew brighter, spreading across the room. The frost on the window started to melt, water running down in thin lines. The whispers quieted to a hush. One by one, the other children stood up. They looked at Tom, then at the light. Some took small steps toward it. A boy in old overalls reached the glow first and stepped in. His shape brightened, clothes turning new and clean, burns fading from his arms. He looked back once, smiled, and was gone. Another followed, then another. The girl stayed longest. She looked down at Emily. "I was scared," she whispered. Emily sat up slowly. The cold hand left her throat. "I know," she said, "but you don't have to be anymore." David found his voice. "Go with him," he told the girl. "He'll keep you safe." The girl looked at Tom. He nodded and held out his other hand. She took it. The glow wrapped around them both. For a moment, Emily saw them clearly. Tom with his arm around the girl's shoulders, like a big brother, leading her forward. The girl looked small again, the burns almost gone, her dress white and clean. She turned back one last time. "Will you visit?" she asked Emily. Emily smiled through tears. Every spring and fall, I promise, and I'll bring better stories." The girl smiled, a real, warm smile that reached her eyes. Then the light folded over them, and they were gone. The room warmed instantly. The door swung open on its own. The drizzle outside stopped. Morning sun poured through the melting frost on the window, painting bright stripes across the floor. Emily and David sat there a long time, holding each other, saying nothing. When they finally stood up, the old crib was empty. The rag doll lay on its side, both button eyes sewn back in place with careful stitches. Its face looked peaceful. They left the house without looking back. David drove while Emily slept against the window, sunlight on her face for the first time in days. The house sold quickly after that. A young family moved in, parents, 2 little kids, and a dog. They painted the nursery bright blue and filled it with new toys and laughter that echoed down the stairs. On quiet evenings, when a soft drizzle falls, people walking past sometimes hear children playing upstairs. Light, happy sounds carried on the wet air. No one ever feels cold in that room again. And every spring and fall, an older woman comes to visit. She leaves flowers on the porch and sits in the backyard for a while, reading stories out loud to no one anyone can see. She always leaves smiling. Emily and David drove home in bright morning light. The roads were dry, the sky clear blue, as if the world had washed itself clean overnight. They spoke little on the drive. Sometimes David reached over and squeezed her hand. Emily watched the trees pass by and felt something inside her settle at last, like a book closing on the final page. They arrived home in the early afternoon. The apartment smelled of coffee left on the timer. Everything looked ordinary. Dishes in the sink, mail on the table, sunlight on the couch where their cat slept, curled up. Emily stood in the doorway for a long moment, taking it in. Normal life. Safe life. David made sandwiches. They ate at the kitchen table and talked about small things. What to watch that night, whose turn it was to buy milk, whether to plant herbs on the balcony next spring. They did not mention the house or the children or the light. Some things are too big for words right away. That evening, Emily took a long, hot shower. She stood under the water until her fingers pruned, letting the warmth chase away the last traces of cold that still clung to her memory. When she came out, David had lit candles in the living room and put on soft music. They sat together on the couch, her head on his shoulder, and watched the city lights come on outside the window. For the first time in weeks, Emily slept through the night without dreams. Days turned into weeks. The envelope and photograph went into a drawer and stayed there. Emily went back to work at the bookstore. David finished the project he had been stressing over. They planned a short trip to the coast for the new year. Life moved forward. One quiet Sunday in early December, Emily woke to the gentle sound of rain against the window. Not drizzle this time, just ordinary winter rain, steady and soothing. She lay in bed listening to it, waiting for the old fear to rise. It did not come. Only peace. She got up and made coffee. David was still asleep. While the pot brewed, she opened the drawer where she had put the photograph. She took it out and looked at it in the grey morning light. The nursery in the picture looked empty now. No handprints on the window. The rag doll sat alone in the crib, both button eyes in place, a faint smile stitched on its face. On the back, the child's writing and the date had faded to almost nothing, as if washed away. Emily carried the photo to the balcony door and opened it. The rain fell soft and straight. She held the picture out into the wet air. Water spotted the paper. The ink blurred and ran. In moments, the image was gone, colors bleeding into gray. She let the paper slip from her fingers. It fluttered down 3 stories and landed in a puddle below, dissolving slowly until nothing remained. David appeared behind her, arms around her waist. "Everything okay?" She leaned back against him. "Yes, everything is okay." They stood there together, watching the rain, until the coffee smelled ready. Years passed. Emily and David had 2 children, a boy with David's dark hair, and a girl with Emily's smile. They bought a small house with a yard, and filled it with noise and toys and ordinary happiness. The girl loved books, just like her mother. The boy loved building towers that reached the ceiling. Every spring and fall, the family took a drive to the old town. They stopped at the house that was never hard to sell again. Different families lived there now, always happy ones with children who played loudly in the nursery. Emily would leave flowers on the porch and a new picture book on the doorstep with a note that said, "For reading aloud." She never went inside anymore. She did not need to. One spring day, when her own daughter was 5, they made the trip as usual. The Current family had planted tulips all along the walk. A little boy about her son's age waved from the upstairs window, the nursery window. Emily waved back. Her daughter tugged at her hand. "Mommy, who are you waving to?" "Just an old friend," Emily said. That night, back home, the children asleep, Emily sat on the porch with David. A light drizzle had started, the kind that makes everything smell fresh and new. David poured her a cup of tea. "Do you ever hear them anymore?" Emily listened to the rain on the roof. Somewhere far away, carried on the soft, wet air, she thought she caught the faintest sound of children laughing, light, free, at peace. She smiled. "Only when I want to." David put his arm around her. They sat in quiet companionship until the drizzle stopped and the stars came out. Some terrors from childhood never fully leave us. They wait in old rooms, under beds, behind closed doors. But sometimes, if we face them with open hearts and steady hands, they turn into something else entirely. Guardians, memories, gentle whispers on rainy nights, reminding us that we are never truly alone. And under drizzling rain, the nursery rocks quietly, waiting for the next story to begin. Many more years went by. Emily's children grew tall and left for college, then jobs in far cities. The house with the yard felt bigger and quieter. David retired first, then Emily closed the bookstore when the owner passed away. They traveled some, quiet beaches, mountain cabins, places where rain fell soft and clean. One fall, when the leaves turned gold and red, Emily felt the old pull again. Not fear this time, just a gentle tug, like a memory asking to be visited. She told David she wanted to make the drive one more time. He understood without questions. They packed a thermos of tea and a new picture book, the kind with bright pages and happy endings. The town looked smaller now, stores changed, new houses on the edges. But the old house on the corner stood the same, fresh paint every few years, keeping it neat. A young family lived there, mother, father, 3 little ones running in the yard with a puppy chasing after. Emily parked across the street. She watched the children play for a while. The oldest, a girl about 8, waved when she noticed the car. Emily waved back and got out slowly. Her knees were not as quick as they used to be. The mother came to the gate, wiping hands on a towel. She smiled, recognizing Emily from stories the real estate agent had shared years ago. The nice lady who leaves books sometimes. "Come in," the mother said. "The kids would love to meet you." Emily and David walked up the path. The house smelled of cookies baking. Toys scattered the living room floor. The children gathered around, curious and polite. Emily asked if she could see the nursery. The mother led her upstairs. David stayed below, talking to the father about gardens. The nursery door stood open. Sunlight filled the room. Walls painted sky blue now, clouds on the ceiling, shelves full of books and stuffed animals. A new crib in the corner for the youngest, who napped peacefully. Everything bright and lived in. Emily stood in the doorway and felt nothing but warmth. No cold spots, no whispers, just the quiet breathing of a sleeping baby and the faint laughter of children downstairs. She placed the new picture book on the small table by the rocking chair. The mother noticed the title and smiled. "They'll love this one. Thank you." Emily looked around one last time. "This room has always been special," she said. "Take good care of it." The mother nodded. "We do. The kids play here for hours. Sometimes they say their imaginary friends join in. Sweet stories, nothing scary." Emily smiled. "Good. That's how it should be." She went back downstairs. The children begged her to read the new book right away. So she sat in the big armchair, David beside her, and read aloud while the puppy curled at her feet. The little ones listened wide-eyed, laughing at the funny parts. When the story ended, the oldest girl hugged her. "Come back soon," she said. "I will," Emily promised. Outside, the day was crisp and clear. No drizzle, just golden leaves falling slow. On the drive home, David asked, "Do you think it's really over?" Emily watched the countryside pass. "It never was about being over," she said. "It was about changing, fear into comfort, loneliness into company, sadness into stories that keep going." That winter, David got sick. Quietly, quickly. Doctors did what they could, but some things move faster than medicine. Emily sat by his bed in the hospital, holding his hand, reading the same picture books they had given away over the years. One rainy evening in early spring, David squeezed her fingers. "Go home," he whispered. "Read to the kids when you visit. Keep the promise." She kissed his forehead. "I love you." He smiled. "Love you more. See you on the other side." He slipped away, peaceful, with rain tapping soft on the window. Emily buried him near Tom, under a tree that bloomed white every May. She went home to the quiet house and sat on the porch many evenings, listening to ordinary rain. The next fall, she made the drive alone. She left flowers at the graves first, then continued to the old house. The family welcomed her like always. The children had grown a little more. They ran to her with hugs and questions about the new book she carried. She read to them in the nursery again. Sunlight slanted through the window, dust dancing in the beams. When the story ended, the youngest, a boy just learning words, pointed to the corner and babbled something happy. Emily looked. Nothing there to see, but she felt it. A gentle brush of air, warm and familiar, like old friends gathered quiet, listening. She closed the book. "Thank you for sharing your room," she whispered to the empty corner. A soft breeze moved the curtains, as if someone waved goodbye. Emily stood slowly. The mother helped her down the stairs. At the door, the children hugged her tight. "Come back soon," they said. Emily smiled. "I'll try." She drove home under clearing skies. That night, for the first time in months, she slept deep and dreamless. The next spring came bright and warm. Emily woke one morning feeling light, like a weight she had carried forever, finally lifted. She made tea and sat on the porch watching birds in the yard. Around noon, she lay down for a nap. Just a short one, she thought. She did not wake up. Neighbors found her peaceful on the couch, book open in her lap, sunlight on her face. They buried her beside David and Tom. The tree bloomed fuller that year than ever before. People say on quiet evenings, when a soft drizzle falls over the town, you can still hear children playing in the old nursery. Light laughter, pages turning, stories being read aloud, and sometimes a gentle older voice joins in, warm and kind, keeping every promise she ever made. The whispers are never scary anymore, only love carried on the rain. The town keeps its quiet rhythms. Seasons turn, children grow, houses change hands, but the old house on the corner stays a steady place. Families come and go, always leaving happier than when they arrived. The nursery remains the heart of it, painted new colors every few years, filled with whatever toys and books the current children love best. People who walk past on autumn evenings, when the air smells of fallen leaves and the first hint of wood smoke, sometimes pause at the gate. They hear faint sounds from the upstairs window, pages turning, soft voices reading, gentle laughter that rises and falls like a lullaby. No one feels afraid. The sounds feel like a blessing, like the house itself is keeping watch. Years after Emily passed, her own daughter, now grown with children of her own, began making the drive each spring and fall. She brings her little ones along. They leave flowers tied with bright ribbons and a new picture book on the porch. The current family always invites them in for tea and cookies. The children play together in the nursery, while the adults talk downstairs. Emily's daughter sits in the rocking chair sometimes, just like her mother used to. She reads aloud from whatever book they brought that day. The room always feels warm, sunlight pooling on the rug even on cloudy days. Her children say their imaginary friends like the stories best, when Grandma's chair rocks a little by itself. One fall afternoon, when the drizzle fell soft and steady, Emily's granddaughter, a curious girl of 7 with dark curls, stayed behind in the nursery after the others went down for snacks. She sat on the rug, surrounded by stuffed animals and old blocks that had been there longer than anyone could remember. She looked up at the empty air and said, "Do you like the new book?" A gentle breeze moved the curtains. The rocking chair creaked once, slow and easy. The girl smiled. "Mommy says, Grandma Emily used to read to you. She says you were lonely once, but not anymore." The pages of the open book on the small table fluttered, stopping at a picture of children playing in a sunlit garden. The girl nodded like she understood. "I'll come back next time, I promise. We can play tea party if you want." She stood up, brushed dust from her knees, and skipped downstairs to join the others. Outside, the drizzle kept falling, washing the streets clean, carrying the scent of earth and rain through open windows. In the nursery, the rocking chair moved again, back and forth, steady and calm. The stuffed animals sat a little straighter, as if listening for the next story. Down the street, people hurried home under umbrellas, heads down against the wet. None of them noticed the faint glow that sometimes appeared in the upstairs window on rainy evenings. A soft golden light, warm and welcoming, like someone leaving a lamp on for late visitors. The whispers never stopped. They simply changed. No longer pleased to stay or play forever. Now they are thank yous, carried on the damp air. Thank you for the stories. Thank you for the flowers. Thank you for remembering. And on the nights when the drizzle falls lightest, if you stand very still outside the gate and listen with your heart open, you might hear an older voice join the children's, gentle, kind, reading aloud one more time. The words drift down through the rain, wrapping the house in quiet love. Some childhood terrors never truly end. They just grow into something softer, something that watches over new children, something that waits patiently for the next promise to be kept. Under drizzling rain, the nursery rocks on, full of light no shadow can touch, full of whispers that say, "You are safe here, you are loved, come play." The house still stands on the corner, paint fresh every few years, windows glowing warm on winter nights. Families come and go, always speaking of how peaceful the place feels, how their children sleep soundly in the nursery, how dreams there are sweet and full of play. But on certain evenings, when the drizzle falls thin and endless, something changes. Walk past after dark, and you might notice the upstairs light flicker once, though no one is home upstairs. Listen close at the gate, and the soft sounds drift down, pages turning, small voices murmuring, laughter too light for living throats. Most people smile and keep walking. They tell themselves it is wind in the eaves or children awake past bedtime. Yet sometimes a passerby lingers too long. Sometimes a curious soul steps onto the porch, drawn by the golden glow behind the nursery curtains. The door is never locked on those nights. It opens easy, inviting. Inside, the house smells of rain and old wood. Stairs creak under careful feet. At the end of the hall, the nursery door stands ajar. Light spills out, warm and steady. Step inside, and the room is perfect. Toys neatly waiting. Books open on the small table. The rocking chair moves slow, back and forth, though no one sits in it. The whispers rise then, gentle at first. Come play. We have been waiting. Stay with us. Look closer, and you will see them. Small shapes in the corners, pale faces at the window, hands reaching out. Not angry, just lonely, just wanting company that never leaves. The door closes soft behind you. The lock clicks once. Outside, the drizzle keeps falling, washing footprints from the porch, blurring the glow in the upstairs window, until it looks like any other house on the street. By morning, the for sale sign appears again in the yard. The family has moved suddenly, quietly, to somewhere far away. They never speak of why. New people arrive soon after. They paint the walls bright colors. They fill the nursery with new toys and laughter. The children sleep well at first, then the drizzle returns. The whispers begin again, patient as ever. Under endless rain, the nursery rocks on, waiting, always waiting, for the next one curious enough to listen, for the next promise that will not be kept. The story never ends. It only draws you in.